chance of kill. Because I have something worth fighting for.
Yours truly, Tessa Thompson, is back to talk about Thor, Love and Thunder, which was directed by Taika Waititi and is the fourth Thor film, which is kind of interesting because in the MCU we have 3 Iron Man films, 3 Captain America films, 3 Spider-Man films, and somehow Thor is the one character to have more than 3 films in the MCU, which is kind of interesting. So after the events of Avengers Endgame, Thor has gotten back into shape and has been on various adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He eventually decides to go solo after finding out that his friend Sif was nearly killed by Gorr the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, who intends to rid the universe of all gods. Meanwhile, Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, has recently been diagnosed with cancer, and after paying a visit to New Asgard, she somehow becomes worthy of Thor's damaged hammer Mjolnir. So Thor, along with Jane and his friends Korg and Valkyrie, they attempt to stop Gorr from achieving his goals. So the Thor films have been hit and miss for me. The first one I thought was fine. The Dark World I didn't really enjoy that much. Ragnarok, however, I really enjoyed, and it's one of my favorite MCU films, and I think it's easily the best Thor film. And with Taika Waititi directing again after directing Ragnarok, I was very intrigued to see what he would do with Love and Thunder after directing Ragnarok, which, again, like I said, I really loved Ragnarok. After watching Love and Thunder, however, I have very mixed feelings on this film. So starting off with the positives, I do think that Chris Hemsworth is still good as Thor. He's entertaining as always. I always enjoy watching him as this character. He's great in the action scenes. He's good with the comedy for the most part. And when it comes to the emotional moments in the film, he's given it his all, and I really respect him for that. And when it comes to Jane Foster, who's played again by Natalie Portman, at first, when she first appeared in the first 2 Thor films, there wasn't really much to her character outside of her just being a love interest for Thor. And I thought that, for the most part, she was a boring character. But here, I think she's much more well-utilized in the film, and she serves a purpose in the story. She and Chris Hemsworth had good chemistry, and when it comes to her being Mighty Thor, she's badass. But when it comes to her having Mjolnir, I get that she has the powers of Thor, but somehow she is also really good at fighting. So does the hammer give her all of Thor's years of combat experience? Because Thor's been around for centuries, and he has, like, centuries of combat experience, so does she have that too? I have no idea. Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher I thought was really good. And when it comes to this character, you do understand his motivations, you do feel sympathy for him, and you do feel sorry for him because of the backstory that they give this character. There are moments where he could be very menacing, and he does have this, like, sadistic sense of humor. It kind of gave me American Psycho vibes because, I mean, Christian Bale, he was excellent as Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. And he kind of, like, has, like, little sprinkles of his performance from that film and kind of like carried it over to Gorr the God Butcher. There are times where it can work, but there are some moments where it kind of almost didn't work for me, but it didn't like taint his performance or anything. He was perfectly fine. I still think that Christian Bale was good in the film. Russell Crowe as Zeus I thought was very funny. When it comes to Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, I thought that she was fine. This isn't the best that she's been as the character. I still think she was awesome in Ragnarok, and her limited time in Endgame was well justified, but she was just there just for fan service. That's just my personal opinion. Taika Waititi as Korg, he's there, but he's still entertaining, but what his character goes through in the film, I did not expect them to do that. And if you've seen the film, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Guardians of the Galaxy have a brief appearance in this film, and of course that brought a smile to my face. Visually, I do think the film is beautiful. The best of the visuals for me was when Thor and company entered the Shadow World where Gorr is, and when they enter this world, all the color is like drained out, and I'm like, okay, this delivers some interesting sequence, and that I think was the standout moment of the film for me. And that's about where it ends for me in regards to positives. I mean, the performances are good. Some action sequences are kind of like, uh, they're kind of like hit and miss for me, honestly. There are some moments in this film where some of the comedy doesn't really work for me. For example, there's a running gag with these goats that like scream. At first, when they first popped up, I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. And they, about like 10 minutes after that, they showed the goats again. They appear throughout almost the entire movie, and every time that they showed the goats, I'm just like, you guys keep recycling the same fucking joke. And I mean, it was funny the first time, but when you recycle it over and over and over and over again, it's just, you just completely just drain every bit of comedy that you can possibly want to deliver, because it was funny at first, but then when you recycle it again, it's not fucking funny! There are some times where the film could be sometimes inconsistent with its tone. Sometimes it could be lighthearted, sometimes it could be serious. And it's like the filmmakers did not know what direction they wanted to go for this film. Either they wanted it to be lighthearted or it to be serious. And I get that they wanted to like put more comedy into the film because it worked for Ragnarok, but for Love and Thunder, it just really didn't work for me. But overall, I don't think that Thor Love and Thunder is a bad movie. It's acceptable at best in regards to like most MCU films. I don't think this is as good as Thor Ragnarok. I still think that Ragnarok is still the best Thor film. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's as bad as The Dark World. I would probably say that it's a slight tad better than The Dark World, because at least it's a bit entertaining, but that's about it, really. The performances are good. Visually, it looks beautiful. The action sequences are kind of like hit and miss for me. I like the soundtrack as well. I mean, when you have a superhero film with 80s songs, I mean, that's definitely going to put a smile on your face. I'm going to give Thor Love and Thunder a B-. So what did you all think of the film? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new films, of course, you know where to find me.